G'day everyone, welcome back. I think this might be the 7th video I'm going to be putting up. It will be continuing on Glen Vilppu's drawing manual, and we'll be going through the second chapter of his basic figure drawing manual. I'll put it up here. And this is one of the first books I got when I was trying to learn figure drawing. And I think it is probably the most helpful when I first started. So it's like very beginner friendly. And he also, and I'm trying to get you all to try and draw from your imagination as well, not only just copy. So this is something I've always been struggling with, but hopefully you guys pick it up quicker than I did, and we'll get into it here with chapter 2, and he goes into spherical forms. Hopefully you can, you should be able to see the screen pretty well. Hopefully you can hear me properly, but I'll try to make this video a bit short. My other ones have been pretty lengthy, but it's hard to congest everything into a few minutes. Maybe in future I'll do some supplementary shorter videos, but for now you'll just have to try and exercise some patience and go through. Hopefully I can summarize these things so you don't have to pass through it like I did with a fine-tooth comb. I can just give you the important bits. So, like I was saying, spherical forms. I'll just go quickly on what we did in the last lesson, which was like getting the rhythm. Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong tool here. Let's see if I've got the right one. Okay, that should be the right one. Just a sec, I'll look for the proper tool. I can't find it. I'm still getting the hang of this program, so just bear with me. Let's see if we, yeah, that's a bit better. I don't want too harsh a line, so that should be better. Sorry about that. Now, let's get into it. This figure on the screen you see, if we went through our last lesson, which was to represent the head form, have a wrap around the eye line, the eyebrow line. So you can't see the eyes here, but I'm picturing the eyes on the other side of the head of this figure to be like this. And Vilppu says to draw through the form. So try and get into the habit of drawing through these volumes. The top of the head, he'd put on a dot, a line for the neck. Now we follow this, the form of the back, the motion of the back into the hips, and then into the leg. A rhythm back there for the bottom of the leg. Now I'll do a line for this leg I see in the distance there. And I'll draw a shoulder line just so I can have these arms hang off of it. So I won't get into it too deeply here, but basically it was a head shape that went into rhythms flowing down the body. And we're not measuring, we're just doing what feels and looks right to us. So that's that represented as a basic gestural line figure drawing. And that took, if I did that without talking, probably would have taken like 30 seconds or so. So hopefully you practiced a lot of that. And this second part, we will mainly focus on the torso. So if you see on the screen, his upper body there, and then the hip area down here. And before we get into drawing what we see there, he wants you to practice just drawing ovals, ellipses or circles, and draw them in different sizes. Practice getting into the habit of drawing them over one another, like this. And you'll see why in a second. If I do one circle and overlap at another, he says it's important to distinguish what form is in front or behind the other form. And how do you do that? You see this overlapping line? Overlaps this spherical form at the back. What that does is it makes us feel that this bottom circle or spherical form is closer to us than the form that's away. And similarly, if we were to do something similar and erase the top line, so this is the inverse of what we've just seen. So this line is overlapping the bottom circle. And that should give you the illusion that this spherical form is closer to us than this spherical form. So in this example, this bottom sphere looks closer to us than the far sphere. And this one, where we've got this top circle overlapping the bottom, it feels like this top circle is closer to us than the bottom one. So it's a big difference between just overlapping lines like that and showing which spherical form will be in front of the other. Okay. Now, you'll see that throughout the body. For example, you'll see, if I can get this a bit bigger, oh. Okay, just if you look where I've got this pen hovering over, you've got this arm, the line of the arm overlapping in front of the torso. And that gives you the sense that this arm is closer to us than this torso volume. Faintly, you can see here at the back, farther part of his back, he's got that line overlapping over the far arm, which gives you the illusion that the back, this part of the back is in front of that back arm. Okay, so that's the illusion you can create with these spherical forms. Now, let's put it into practice. So I'll draw an ellipse. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to practice identifying which volumes are in front and which volumes are behind. So I'm representing this torso, the top, the rib cage area. And then if I draw through, I'm summarizing this hip area here. Now, this top area of the back is in front of, so I'm going to draw that over the hip area. Okay. And just to emphasize it, I'll erase some lines. Okay. And the center axis of that back, you can see down the spine. It goes down there and then creeps up, and then you've got the center of the butt mass down here. So see if you can add that just to give it, just to understand the orientation a bit better. Okay. And if you want to, you can add I'm looking for the center part of the neck into our head shape. And this head shape will overlap part of that neck. Okay. And we have one spherical form on top of the other. So we're just going to focus on torsos for now, just to keep it simple. So I'll give another example. I'll erase what we've got here. Okay. Figure 2. All right. Now, if we go through, oh geez, where do I put the brush tool? It's not the one I want. How about P for pen? Right. Okay. I don't know what the shortcut is for pencil, but I'll figure it out soon enough. Okay, so if we got our figure here, and we go through step 1 of the Vilppu drawing manual, I've got the spherical shape of the head, and I'm drawing a line through to see through the eyebrow of the head, which we cannot see, but we're imagining it on the other side of the head. Now, a line for the neck, a rhythm line. I'm looking for a rhythm line down the front of the torso that I cannot see, but I like this bend here, so I'll represent that flow. The butt, just a line here. I'm exaggerating it a bit more. A line down the upper thigh, the lower leg, and same for the other side. Okay, and then the arm, and you see a bit of the other arm on that side, so it's got a good rhythm here. Okay, so that's the figure simply as a few lines. Now with this torso mass, if I did it simply here, one mass on top of the other, and then which mass is in front of the other? So the top, you can see an overlap at the bottom of that rib cage, and he's really emphasized that line. You might not see an overlap here, but I'll just put it in anyway. This is the simple, very simple version of what we see. Not worrying about proportions or anything. It's just a basic, peanut shape. So now I'll do a bigger version. Okay. This is the upper mass going in to the bottom mass. The upper mass is bigger, I've put it, than the lower mass because that appears that way to me. This is the center axis, so we're going down to the spine of the back and down that sacrum to the butt. I'll put the overlap there just to throw that off. Here's a tiny overlap at the front, and I'll erase some lines just so you can see where these overlaps are taking place. So with these overlapping lines, you can tell that this upper mass is in front and closer to us than this lower mass. Okay, let's try another one. we'll go through a few examples. And we got here. Okay, another one. Let's see if I can erase everything and just like, there you go. Easy. Okay. Again, the head, an oval shape. The neck, okay, the head, sorry, I'll put the volume of the eyes over that head, the spherical shape. The neck line. Okay, I feel the torso bending this way. And from there, we've got this bottom leg, which gives us two sort of very steep C shapes. And then the other leg, the bottom leg is shorter because it's foreshortened. Now the arms. One coming out this way. And get into the habit of adding that hand, because I've learned from some artists saying that the hand is a part of the body that is very communicative, like it really helps add to the gesture. So that's our figure is a few lines. And don't get carried away. Just practice. I hope you practiced doing like hundreds of these, or if not, just start practicing them all the time. Put in some effort for these, and you'll reap the rewards later on. Trust me. Now, with these beam shapes, the spherical shapes, I'll do a very simple one up here. I feel one shape here, and then it bulges out on this side. So there's a stretch there, and then there's a pinch on this side. Now, I can't tell which side is in front. And on this, let me see if I can draw over this figure. No. Or maybe here. Oh yeah. See that? That's the bottom of the rib cage, and you've got an oblique going into the pelvis here. So we've got kind of two separated points. He's not bent over so much so that one sphere is in front of the other so much, but he's got, I'll erase. No, that's not it. Okay. Eraser. Where is it? Okay. So I'll try a different color. So you've got one line there and one here, and they're connected just in the middle there. So be aware of that. Look for it when you are drawing the figures. So what I'll do now, I'll do a bigger version. You've got the upper torso, the rib cage. We're representing lower hip area, center line. I'm following down this sternum of the front of the chest, and then following that belly button down to the crotch area. Now I can leave it like this, or I can just remain faithful to what image I'm looking at. and do it like so. And then I can really push this stretch by not adding a overlap at all. So you can do that like this. Or this, whichever one you fancy. But we're just getting into the habit of overlapping lines, or these spherical shapes to communicate a message. Okay, let's go on to another example. Okay, now, what have we got there? Yep. Now, same as before. Spherical head, top of the head, eye line. The neck, I can't see it, but I'm picturing that the neck would be, because of you see the back up there, would flow to the neck through there like that. So I'm just drawing straight through this big gestural line of the back. Okay. The torso, I'm just making like a flowing line that I see through the center of this torso. Now the leg pushing out towards us and then pushing back to the floor. His far leg kneeling back in, and then I'm representing the foot with a couple of lines. Now with the arm, this back bit of the arm and the front, and with the hand represented, just a couple of lines. And this one has got a big sweeping line, and again the hand. Now I should start putting the center axis of this face, and that really gives you some tension. The whole body is feels like it's flowing out towards the right, and then he's looking back towards the left. It's an excellent pose. Now, let's look for this big egg and the smaller egg of the crotch, the pelvis area. So the bigger egg leaning towards the floor. We see the big overlap here, over there. So it's roughly sitting like that. And it appears that the torso, the top, the rib area is overlapping the bottom. And this outer area is stretched, very stretched. Center line, so I'm imagining the whole of the rib cage at the neck sits there, goes into his stomach, his belly, and then pushes back out here. You see that? And if you wanted to, we'll get into this a bit later on, but this hip area you can represent as a small shoebox. Okay. Now where do you find this shoebox? You see this little edge there? That's where, if you feel around your hip line, that's where your belt sort of sits on. Okay. So I'm representing this area as a shoebox. So get into the habit of drawing cubes to represent shapes often, and draw them in different orientations. Okay, and draw through them, just find the centers. This is one of the most recommended exercises by many artists and illustrators. Just being able to draw a square or a box in different angles. It's one of the most, the highly recommended exercise to do. So I advise you to do that when you're just doodling around at home or on the phone. Okay, now we'll go through another example. We've got maybe 4 more examples to go. So this one is a bit more difficult since we can't really see the hip. But if you look through, that's the torso. And if you look through, for you to draw through, it'll be around here like that, okay? And you can see this boxy shape. It's really emphasized there by the artist. So look for that boxy shape. And that would go down like this if you would draw through. So first of all, we'll go through step 1, head, volume around the head, tracking the eyebrows or eyeline, the front of the face, right down between those and the eyebrows down to the chin, and the top of the head. The neck goes into the head like that, into the back. Now I'm following that middle of the back, and it's really coming around like this. And then from there, I'll go to the front of the leg, you see? And that knee sort of sits next to his ear, so I'll be aware of that. That's the bottom of his leg. Now, the other leg. I can follow that, form all the way down like this, and it bends back. The arms, one going down, sweeping down like that, and the other one bent back. And he's holding the pole. Okay. Now this torso. This is all I want you to do for this part 2 of the exercise is just look for the spheres and see how you can manipulate it to make one sphere appear on top of the other. That's the midline. I see you down the spine. It hides back there. It's got this torso, the hip line. We're going to, if you want to challenge yourself, start drawing the square of the hip area. And you can see only a tiny bit of that front axis there. So that's how we'd represent that. And if you want to add maybe some extra folds on the rib cage to fit where the arm would properly sit, you can start challenging yourself like that. Okay, another example. Hopefully you can see this one. Let's go through it again. Sphere of the head. Okay, this one, he's sort of looking up, so I imagine his eyes would be over there on the other side of the head. And the center of his face would meet the back around there, so that's why I'm drawing that line there. The neck sprouts out like that from the base of the skull. Follow a line down the back, which will continue down the front, the leg of the leg, and then down the calf to the foot. Bang. This one's a sweep like this. The other leg. And it pushes it out. Arms. I'll just put a line for the top of the shoulders or the top of the rib cage area. One line coming out like this. And sort of coming towards us. And the other line that bicep area, forearm, and hand. Okay? Now let's go back to our exercise of these two spherical masses. Rib area. And the pelvis. Which appears to be above the other side. Let's look for above the other circle. So here I can see a tiniest of overlaps as well as over here. So I'm going to assume that the artist wants us to believe this lower mass is closer than the upper mass. Okay? Now the center line of the back, it creeps around here and follows down to the butt. Okay? And this is sort of like what we saw in the other example. His pectoral muscle overlaps there, and then you've got the abdomen area which connects the two spheres. So if you wanted to draw this another way, it could be like this. And if you want to try things, always try them again and again just to see what works for you and what doesn't. So I used to be lazy and not want to do these drawings twice over. I'll just move on to the next one. But I would get into the habit of drawing the figures that you look at probably twice or even 3 times over. Maybe that's indeed excessive, but at least twice. So see this, how I could immediately connected that? I can separate it there like this. And you're the artist, it's up to you on which you think communicates the message better to the viewer. And this is a cube. I would probably, the bottom of the butt is where the plane changes of that cube, okay? So do you see it there? I would represent it over here like so. Okay? And another one. All right, this one's a good example. You've got a really strong overlap at the bottom of the rib and the abdomen. Okay, first step. Eye line. It's very faint, but you can have a go at guessing where things lie. I'm guessing the neck into there. Very strong gestural line flowing out the back like this. Okay, and push it. And remember, everyone, we're not copying the figure exactly, just using it as reference. And I'm feeling this line, so I'm just going to drop it in. I'm not measuring anything. Okay, I'm going to put another rhythm line down here. Now, from this big line at the back, we come in, so it goes from there into there. And then back for the lower leg. The other leg on the far side, pushing out and coming back. And a hint of the arm, just pulling back. What a good pose. Excellent. Dynamic pose. Okay. Simple spheres. This is our next step. Simple spheres. One up here and one sort of cutting halfway down that rib cage. There's our overlap. And the other side is really stretching. Okay. Now the center axis, this is down the chest, and following, see it bends there and it bounces back out to go down the navel and the crotch area. See where I'm drawing over here on the image. And at this, emphasize this overlap point by darkening it down. Okay. Now, I'll do another one of these ones with, I'll add the cube on our torso, on the bottom section. How do I identify it here? So, okay, let me put that overlap. To me, it looks like you've got an oblique muscle that is here, and it sits on top of that belt crease that I was talking about before. So that belt crease is around there. So I'm going to put it in, and it's up to you guys to practice looking for signs of this boxy shape. So get your life drawing books or the resources out and start really analyzing the model and trying to figure out where these shapes lie under the figure. Okay, so that's that one there. We've got a couple more and that's it. So hopefully it wasn't too long. My other videos go for over an hour, so at least it's an improvement. Now, this one. Step one, we're going to look for our head sphere shape. Eye line. Neck, I can't see it, but I'm feeling the base of the skull, if I followed it around, would be around there, if I could see through the form. And I will put the neck in there like so. I feel the center line of his rib cage, and I'm feeling it flowing into this leg on his outside leg, and it comes in, foot down there. The other leg over the top of the other leg. The other leg over top of the other leg. Okay. Now, one arm pushing out, jutting out, and then coming back in. The other one flowing all the way down. And he's holding something here. Okay. So the difficult bit of learning these things, believe it or not, is trying to keep these drawings as simple as possible. Try not to go further than this. Okay. So now, big shape, upper torso, hip area, center line of the rib cage. It flows like this, and then it comes like an S shape, comes out there. Where do we see an overlap? I can sense something like this. I could draw something like this. And this is interesting because the top torso overlaps the bottom here like that, and then the bottom can overlap the top like this. And what that would signify is a twisting motion, which we do see in the in our reference. So essentially, if we get an overlap up here and then one up here, you can feel a twist. So experiment with spheres like that, where there's alternate overlaps. Okay. Now let's challenge ourselves, do it again, and find a box for the hips. So that overlaps up there like so. This one, to push the twisting shape, I'll draw it like so. Center line in the crotch. Here I can see the belt line, and I'll erase it so you can see it again. This area here, crease, right under this, where we overlapped. So I'll put it in like so. And this box shape, you can see a bit of the side. This orientation will follow the bottom one. And so if we were to look through this form, you'd see this shoebox shape from above. So I mean, you'd be looking down at this shoebox. Okay? So and one more. I think that may be it. Oh no, one more, sorry guys. I hope this has been helpful, everyone. And again, bear with me while I try to learn how to speed up my process. But most importantly is I hope that you guys are patient enough to go through these tutorials and put everything into practice. So this is the last one. Head. I'll draw the center of these center axes, that's how you say it. The neck, moving down into this torso. I'm getting into the habit of drawing this bar. Well, what can't I draw over it? Okay. Oops, that shouldn't be there. Now, back to it. I'm getting into the habit of drawing through here and that outside line, which is, I'll represent like so. And continue down the front of the leg to the bottom. This leg coming up and back. And the arm flowing up, like you can see there. Upper torso, leaning to the right a bit. Okay. Lower. From just observing this model, this reference, I would say he's leaning back. So this bottom pelvic area would be coming forward. And therefore, it would be in front of the top sphere, that ribcage area. Okay. Let's try it again over here. Then we'll add the boxy shape of the pelvis. So this torso area and this bottom area is really pushing that overlap with the dark lines, okay? So I think I've heard a artist before saying whenever you have these overlaps, try and push it with a dark line. So that the viewer's eye gravitates towards it, and then it helps them decipher that, you know, this mass is in front of that back mass. Center lines going down the rib cage. His navel is here, so I'm following that flow down there to his crotch. This, you can see quite easily the edge of his pelvis there. So continue that through, and let the bottom of his butt there would be the bottom of that shoebox. Okay. So if I was to draw through it, it'd be like so. Get used to drawing through shapes. It'll help you find shapes on the other side, or hints on the other side of the figure. That'll help you complete your drawing. Okay, you're getting carried away there. So leave it as is, and the hole for the neck. Okay, so that's all I want you to practice. We've been through many examples here, and already from this gestural sketch we see here, we're adding the form. It's to give it some volume on the paper. So it's, personally, I think it's really good to get into the habit of practicing this gestural line, simple line, and then going through these torsos. And again, like I said before, looking for these shapes on the model, the rib cage area, the pelvic area, and start challenging yourself by looking for this shoebox. Okay. Now next week I might go back to Michael Hampton's drawing from imagination, or actually maybe we'll continue on with Glen Vilppu till we finish that and then go back. But other than that, hopefully you're picking up some good points, and it's something I should say in every video is practice more than just reading and trying to get better through looking and watching tutorials. Just put things into practice. If you're spending 10 minutes watching a tutorial, spend 2 hours practicing what you learned from that tutorial, or even longer. So if I can offer any exercises, just continue following the lines and the spherical forms, and also just drawing squares and these overlaps, and you can start inventing your own little torsos with this shoebox shape attached to it. You know, just get adventurous, and if you really feel like it, you'd start adding the head, spherical head, and sweeping lines for limbs. Anyway, see how you go. Let me know how you go, and hopefully I'll see you soon with another tutorial. Thanks for watching. See ya.